Hello there. I'm 2 minutes late. We went late at clinic today, so I apologize, but I am glad you decided to join me today. I missed you last week, but I was doing things over the holidays with my grandchildren, and so we're back on schedule today, and so thank you for joining me. We're going to be talking about viruses today, and to give you some perspective on viruses and that kind of thing. So I'm not really afraid of viruses. I don't want to get them. So hear me. I don't want to get them. But when I do feel under the weather, when I do feel like something's coming on, then I have things here that I take so that I'm not worried about viruses. But this is a great article about communicable diseases, and we are at the height of flu season. And so I want you to understand what viruses are, what they are not, and what you can do about it. And so we're going to kind of talk about that. I'm going to tell you what I do when I'm feeling like I'm coming down with something. So this says that viruses are simple organisms, right, that are just a nucleic acid coated in a protein. But they come in a wide variety of shapes and sizes, and they are a wide variety of illnesses. Okay, some can be deadly, others support the immune system. And so there are some viruses that we have that live in everybody that really help you. And I know that's kind of like an anathema. How can I have a virus that helps me? But believe it or not, sometimes they do. Just like probiotics are little bacteria, and those bacteria do help you. They help you to digest your food. They help you to eliminate the waste, and they're just really good for you. And so we're going to be talking about these little critters called viruses. It says for centuries, doctors could see the result of viruses, illnesses such as polio, rabies, herpes, mono, and smallpox. But the particles working behind the scene were not detected until the 20th century. This is when the scientists discovered bacteria, and we know that we developed antibiotics for bad bacteria. A lot of people think that when they go to the doctor and they have a virus that they need an antibiotic. Antibiotics do not work on viruses. Antibiotics work on bacteria. There are antivirals that work on viruses, and we have several here in the clinic. Whenever I wake up and I don't feel well, I'll take some of each. I'll do an antibacterial and an antiviral just to make sure that I catch whatever it is so that I don't get sick, okay? So that's what we want to do. So the virus is unique, and then it cannot replicate itself. And you say, well, how can I get a virus and how do I get sick if the virus cannot replicate itself? It replicates because it gets inside the host tissue, and it plays havoc with your tissue until your immune system mounts a response, and then you create, you get over it and you create some resistance to it. So this is the thing. The virus gets inside the DNA, kind of holds it hostage, and it takes over its DNA, okay? So Dr. Sophia Tolliver, who is a family medicine physician in Ohio, says that the main difference between a virus and bacteria is that the bacterial infection comes from a microbe that can thrive in a wide variety of environments. And viral infection, on the other hand, comes from microscopic parasites that require very specific conditions for survival. So if that is true, then I want to make my body uninhabitable environment for viruses. And so we want to be uninhabitable for bacteria as well. You need to be able to get into who you are, to get into how am I feeling, to be very mindful so that you know things are off before you come down with symptoms. And we've said this before, that a virus or a bacteria takes many days to incubate and replicate to get enough of it so that you feel bad. But if you're really in tune with who you are and you're in tune with how you are feeling, you will know 2 or 3 days before you get sick that something is happening. And that's really when you want to take preventative measures so that you're not going to let those little microbes get where they need to be and to multiply till they get to be so strong that they overwhelm you, okay? So scientists have identified over 400 different viruses that can infect people. That's a lot. Others can infect animals, plants, and even bacteria, right? So viruses come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and some of them we don't have to worry about, but some of them that we do. It is a estimate, okay, that there are over 100 million different viruses, right? That's an estimate, okay? And they just qualify that saying that's only here on planet Earth. So I guess the space people go to different areas and they might encounter different life forms and viruses and that kind of thing. So it says there is a debate as to whether viruses are really alive or they are simply a biological mechanism. Some scientists argue that viruses fail the qualifications of a living entity because they lack self-replication features. And I said that they cannot duplicate themselves or multiply themselves without a host. So some scientists say that they're not really a living creature. I believe they're living creatures, okay? In a sense, when we catch a viral infection, we turn into a virus-making factory, churning out an exponential growth of these parasitic particles until our immune system puts a stop to it. All types of viral infections, from colds to flus to hepatitis to HIV, propagate in this way. So we become a host and we become a virus-producing entity, which is that is not my life mission. I'm just going to say that is just not what I'm called to do, and it's not what you're called to do. So we need to be really, really proactive when we are in this season of colds and flus and different viral things that are going around. I know RSV is going around. We've got a lot of little people in my church that are having some issues. And so you're just going to have to treat the body with what the body needs in order to stop the replication of these viruses. It says the mucous membrane in our digestive system, respiratory and reproductive tracts is a host of bacteriophages, or they just call them phages. These viruses infect and destroy specific bacteria. So this is a good way that viruses can work. Others fight, macrophages fight against more serious bacteria, so we need to know that. Just as scientists have learned that there are essential and helpful bacteria inside us, there are also essential and helpful viruses. I told you, bacteria and virus. Okay, so phages, these are these macrophages that are in the immune system, have been used for nearly a century to treat sepsis caused by the Staphylococcus salmonella. We all know what salmonella is, right? Dysentery and more. So scientists have used these good bacteria to take care of that. As drug-resistant infections become a greater concern, phages have taken on a greater interest as a way to treat infection, including other viral infections. Now, I'll tell you, the medical community is coming a long way. You can go now to the pharmacy and you can buy bandages that are infused with raw honey, and you can find bandages that are infused with silver. And so we know that raw honey is really, really good against infectious organisms, and also is silver. And so these are the things, and the reason I think that these things work so well is because they have not been overused. The bacteria, the virus, does not know that these things exist because that's not what they're used to being treated for. When you treat with medications, the organism is alive and it adapts itself because everybody wants to live forever, right? And so it becomes antibiotic resistant, or it becomes drug resistant. And so when you use a natural formula, they've never seen that before, and so it's much more efficacious than what they are used to using, okay? Okay, so it says when it comes to bad viruses, no one wants to be a host, and we said that. Okay, the exposure to some viruses actually make us stronger because they trigger the immune system to produce antibodies, special proteins that thwart the microbial invaders. There's a specific antibody to address each microbe we come into contact with, but they don't come cheap. Okay, Tolliver says the main way we get these antibodies is through something called active immunity. Now, there is such a thing as, we call it innate immunity. It's immunity that I'm born with, and then we call it acquired immunity that I have developed because of my life experiences. Okay, so your innate immunity is your organs of your immune system, right? It's your natural killer cells, it's your lymphatic cells, it's your lymph nodes, it's your spleen, it's your thymus. All of that is your innate ability. That's what I come packaged with, that takes care of making sure that nothing gets me. Now, my acquired immunity is what I get as a response to my environment. So my mom loves to tell the story when I was about 2 years old that I would eat and drink out of the dog dish. Well, I asked her, Mom, why did you let me do that? And she said, well, I didn't let you do that, but you did that. And when I saw you, I stopped you. So nobody's going to let their baby do that. But when you do that, what happens? You pick up the germs from the dog, right? And your body has to fight against that germ for the dog. And so that is an acquired immunity. When we go outside and play, when we play in the dirt, when we swim in the lake, when we go to the ocean, we are exposing ourselves to a different environment that's not necessarily clean. It's not necessarily dirty. I'm not saying that. But when you get out in those environments, when you get dirty, or you're in a less than pristine water condition, you are exposing yourself to different microbes, different viruses, different bacteria, so that you acquire immunity for that. It makes you healthier. People come in, and I hear them on the internet and different things saying, I need to boost my immune system. Well, that's really not how we like to say that. If you boost your immune system, you're fighting something. And I don't want you fighting something. We want to strengthen your immune system so that anything that comes your way, you're well able to deal with. So there's a big difference between boosting your immune system when I come in contact with a pathogen, I cut myself, I have food poisoning, I have a virus, whatever. My immune system is going to do what? I'm going to start vomiting. If I've cut myself, it's going to be sore, it's going to make pus, it's going to do what it needs to do. If I get a virus, I'm going to spike a fever. That is boosting the immune system because the immune system has to deal with something. If I strengthen my immune system, I'm coming in contact with small entities all the time. So my immune system is on alert. It says, this does not belong here. I've seen this before. I know this makes me sick, so we're going to come at it. So you've got your innate immune system, what you're born with, and then you've got your acquired immune system, what this lady calls active immune system, based on what you are exposed to. Okay? It says the body fights off viruses through the immune system mounting an immunological response, and we just talked about that. Another part is the passive immunity, or the innate, which I explained, and it says, as the name suggests, our own body does not create this protection. Passive immunity comes from the protective antibodies that we inherit, like those we received from mother's milk or while in the uterus. That is your innate immune system, okay? So, exposures to some viruses actually make us stronger. They trigger the immune system to produce antibodies. We all need antibodies. So I'm just going to tell you, if you have a history of virus, like we're going to just pick HIV because hopefully none of y'all have that. But if you do, you're always going to test positive because they test the antibodies. Okay, there's a different kind of test that you can test that test the titers in the blood and that kind of thing. So when you have a virus, no matter what kind of virus, herpes virus, monovirus, shingles virus, polio, pneumonia, anything like that, viral pneumonia, you're going to always have those antibodies because that is what the immune system makes to help you overcome that, okay? So here they're talking about fighting viral infections. I'm really excited about this because they are telling you that there was a study that proves, especially they targeted HIV. Now, HIV is the mother of all viruses because it is what almost 100% fatal if you don't take care of it. But they've shown that using traditional Chinese medicine is very, very effective. I'm going to read this to you because it should give you some hope. So hopefully no one is dealing with HIV, but whether you're dealing with Pseudomonas or whether you're dealing with mono or the Epstein-Barr virus or whatever, this is really, really good news for you, okay? It says the common cold virus may only affect us for a week or two before the body mounts an immune system that puts an end to it. However, with HIV, the virus can completely take over, driving its own replication and killing our cells in the process. It says with the advent of medication, this condition has gone from a virtual death sentence to more of a chronic illness where people can still live a full life. The drugs used to treat HIV are known as antiretrovirals. They work by suppressing the viral activity. Now, all antivirals do this. All antiviral drugs do this. So this is something that is important, but they just did this test on HIV. The end result is what we're going for, and it's important for all of us. The strategy doesn't kill the virus or cure the disease, but it does increase the patient's lifespan and reduces the disease transmission. But antiretroviral drugs may not be the only option. We assume that modern medicine offers the only answers to microbial infections, but ancient medicine can still provide some help. An emerging science is backing this up. In one example, a study that took place in the 2000s, the early 2000s, looked at otherwise healthy AIDS patients in their 50s and 60s. Instead of antiretrovirals, the 9 participants in the study were given a traditional Chinese formula made up of 13 different herbal extracts. By 2016, so this was several years, so the early 2000s to 2016, it was over 10 years for sure, may have been 15 years, they don't tell me exactly when they did this, but in 2016, 8 of the 9 had undetectable viral load, and the remaining patient's viral load was low. So what does this mean? This means in this study of these patients, 9 had HIV/AIDS at the end of this study, whether it was 10 years or 15 years, 8 were totally cured. There was no detectable viral load in the body. So what if it took 10 years, right? It works. Traditional Chinese medicine, traditional herbs are very antiviral, antibacterial. The microbes have not seen them before, and so they're very, very effective. So I think this is really, really good news. He says other studies have shown that including traditional Chinese medicine in treatment can reduce some of the side effects associated with conventional antiretroviral activity. Okay? Modern science also recognizes that ancient form of medicine may offer genuine immune protection. Regular application of herbs such as andrographis and echinacea have shown to reduce the impact and severity of certain viral infections. So this is really, really important. Why is that? Well, it's important because these things are natural. You want to get them wild crafted. You want to get them hand produced. All right, wild crafted means they grow in the environment that God made for them to grow in. They are wild harvested, which means they are harvested by hand. They're not harvested by a machine. And they are prepared, wild crafted means they are prepared without machines and without high heat. Machines break up the components, and high heat destroys the beneficial nutrients in the herbs. And so that's why you want to make sure that you source your things. So what do I do when I find out that I am not feeling well? Well, I will go into the kitchen cabinet where I have various herbs and supplements. I have something called IVH, and that stands for infection and virus. H is the herbalist, the initial of the herbalist that made this formula. But I'll take the IVH, and it is a blend. It is a blend of different herbs that are antivirals and antibiotics. And I will take that. I will take probably a full dropper every 2 hours, and then by the end of the day, I'm usually well. I will also do wild oregano oil. Now, wild oregano oil has components in it, not your wild oregano essential oil. This is wild oregano. It's a gel cap that you take it internally. It comes from a different part of the plant. But it is a very, very strong antiviral. And I will take one of those every 2 hours. And by the end of the day, I'm as good as gold if I ever come into a situation where I just feel like I don't feel well. Now, that oregano oil is gathered on the hillside of the little tiny islands off the coast of Greece. There are people that go out there. I know the people that manufacture this, and they tell me the story that they go out there with their little bags and they gather the oregano and they bring it back and they formulate these capsules the way they do, and they're very, very good for you. So that's one of the things that I do when I don't feel well. You can do this with your children. You can do this with yourself. You just want to adjust the dosage based on the age of the child. Obviously, I would not give a child a gel cap because they can't swallow things, but you could also do olive leaf. Olive leaf is a very good antiviral as well, and it comes in a liquid form. You would say, well, why can't we just eat the olives? Well, I know I like to eat the olives too, but the particular medicinal benefit comes from the leaf of the tree. And so you want to do olive leaf extract, so that'll be a good antiviral. We have other protocols here in the clinic, especially for flu. We've got a home prophylaxis where you have 3 homeopathic remedies, and we have a calendar. We show you how to do that. And as long as we've been doing that in the clinic, which is now about 10 years, we've never had anybody that's done this protocol that has come down with the flu. So I think that's great. That's a great track record. Steve and I do that as well. And it's not expensive. You can do your whole family for $75, and I think you have enough product to do 2 years of antiviral. Now that's not going to be if you have 10 or 12 kids. It's not going to last that long, but the normal family or the more common number of children, 2 to 4 children, that should last you a couple of years. And so it's not expensive, and what you're doing is you're showing your immune system, be on the lookout for these entities. Go ahead and mount an immune response. So at the very first time someone sneezes on you that has a cold or has a flu or whatever, your body has been conditioned through this homoprophylaxis to recognize it and immediately start attacking it because it's not something that's new. Does that make sense? If you go and have the flu shot, what they're doing is they are injecting you with what they think is the most prevalent virus at the time. Now, we know, in fact, I heard somebody say the other day that he went and had a flu shot, and the next day he had flu symptoms, and he was as sick as a dog, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, yeah, it's just a cold. I don't really buy that. I just don't buy it. So you guys got to figure it out. I know that we've had parents that have gone and got the flu shot. They come home, and they feel unwell. And then the next thing we know, all of their children come down with the flu. So don't tell me that flu shots don't shed, okay? Just don't tell me that. The homoprophylaxis is very effective, and it does not put thimerosal in the body. Now remember, we've got podcasts out there, we've got YouTubes out there that talk about adjuvants in vaccines. We're not a fan of vaccines because of that. An adjuvant is a particle that the scientists put in the vaccine in order to make your immune system trigger. Normally it is formaldehyde, it is thimerosal, which is a mercury derivative. Also, they have aluminum, which is a neurotoxin. It mounts an immune response. Why is that? Because it was never supposed to be in the body. People will argue and tell you that there's more aluminum in a pear than there is in the flu vaccine or any kind of vaccine, and they're probably right. But when you eat a pear, it goes through the digestive system where the body's able to take care of that toxin. When you inject it under the skin, then you've got another issue going on. And we were never supposed to have aluminum injected into the skin. So there are just a lot of different angles that you need to look at. My time is just about up, so I don't really want to get into that. I just want you to know that viruses this is how they replicate. This is what you can do. You can do it naturally, you can do it holistically, and you can have a really, really fast response. The key holistically is to hit it hard, hit it fast as soon as you feel unwell. Don't wait a couple of days to see if it gets bad enough to go and see the doctor. I know that's what you do when you're doing a medical protocol. I don't feel bad to go to the doctor, but I feel bad. Maybe I'll be better tomorrow. No, I don't feel good, but I don't feel bad. Maybe tomorrow. Well, you don't want to do that holistically. Holistically, you know that something's going on. It's going to replicate in your body because you're a host. And so you've got to decide if you want to nip it in the bud Or if you want to procrastinate, and if you procrastinate, then you're going to have to go and get, medicine, because it's just going to be too hard for your body to mount an immune response if you're in the acute stage. Now, when they looked at these HIV people, they were in their 50s and their 60s. They probably had the disease for a long time, so it was a chronic thing. It took a long time with natural herbs to get it resolved, but it did get resolved. I don't want you guys going through your days with a virus that is active and you can't enjoy your life. Holidays are coming. You're going to be in a high toxic environment. You can take these things prophylactically, in that you can take it just in case, just in case. When I go on a cruise, I know that the air is recycled and listeria is a big deal. And so I will do antivirals just because, and I've never been sick on a cruise, so that's a good thing. I got seasick one time, but I've never been sick. And so I believe in, if I'm going into a high traffic environment, a high volume environment where bugs are, that if I protect myself, if I give my immune system something to target, then as soon as that germ comes in contact with me, my immune system is at the ready, and it says, hey, there's a new invader here, all the troops come, let's squish it before it has time to replicate in the body. And so that's how I stay well. That's how I stay healthy. I've not been sick in quite a long time, like almost decades. So that's a good thing, okay? So you guys can do this too. I hope you found this exciting. I hope you have found it informative. You can do this with yourself. You can do this with your children. You can do this with your grandchildren. Everybody can benefit from natural antivirals. And so let me know what you think, and I will see you next week. Take care. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourself. Do some self-care, okay? Bye-bye.